When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube. Welcome back to the Grease Comp YouTube channel. Today's video, we are going to be talking about how Arya is going to get out of Braavos specifically. So this is not going to be like an Arya, like, normal prediction video where I talk about where I think she's going to be by, like, maybe the end of the story. This is going to be mainly focusing on, I think, probably the first half of Winds of Winter and Arya's storyline there, because I think all of us expect Arya's going to Westeros at some point. It's just the manner of how does she get there and how soon it is. It's kind of very similar to Dany's plot. I think pretty much every character that's in Essos, you're really on this timeline of, okay, what happens to make the character go to Westeros? At what point in the story does that happen? So, and all of that. So this video is going to try and look at all the possibilities that maybe could happen for a character like Arya and how she could eventually be pushed to leaving Braavos as a whole. But before we get into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment, please do. Help the channel grow, reach our appeal that might like this content as well. And let's get into the video. So let's kind of take a look at where we are with Arya's character. Again, I am going to be using some evidence from the Winds of Winter sample chapter, and again, that could always change, so depending on if George changes that sample chapter could make things a bit different or tricky to look at. So the last we see of Arya in the sample chapter, she's been using this persona of Mercy, and she's kind of been in a play, kind of similar to the way the show had her, except she was actively part of the play. And so we see these envoys come over from Westeros, and there are these guards. Now, Arya knows one of the guards, and this is basically her going incognito and doing a mission that was not for her to do. And so she goes after this character of Raph. And again, Raph goes back to Lamy back in book 2. So again, a lot of history there. And it's again another element tying Arya to her past and who she really is. And we also get something else at the beginning of the sample chapter that's very interesting to point out is she has a dream in Nymeria, once again with the wolf pack. So really what this chapter is trying to show you, and I think for me personally is what I got out of it, as I reread it before this video, is that Arya is being pulled back into her past. She's being pulled into what she really is, not no one, and a faceless man. So the issue here is going to be, okay, well, what is the push that makes Arya leave? Now, the first thing to look at is, how does it end, right? Arya doesn't, like, straight up say, okay, she's going to leave Braavos at this point. She's going to go back trying to be her persona. That I don't think is going to work. Again, this is a killing that the Faceless Men did not tell her to do. And so there's going to be repercussions. Now, maybe you could argue the Faceless Men won't find out, but I think that's... yeah, I disagree. I mean, again, the Faceless Men know who Arya is. They know bits and pieces of her past. So to me, and you also look at a character like Jaqen who had been around when these events were happening with Arya, he would be able to know this information and her personal vendetta with a character like Raph. I think the Faceless Men are going to understand what happened here. So again, and also there is going to be this idea that Arya didn't do this with no witnesses, right? Like the other guard saw her basically seduce Raph. So there will be an eyewitness to who would have killed him. So again, we see that Arya is probably not going to get away with this murder. So this is going to push one of two things. One thing is Arya is going to be smart enough to realize she can't really stay with the Faceless Men because they're going to find out. Two, maybe she already knows that, but she still goes to the Faceless Men trying to maybe work something out. And I think, for me, the way the story is going is there's like 3 clear paths for me that I think about. One of them is Arya does just straight up try to escape and goes to Westeros. She finds a ship. And what we see with Arya is that she now lives in constant fear. We see her as a character that's being hunted. She has this paranoia that is very constant, and she evolves as a character in that way. I don't know if I would like that for Arya's character necessarily at this point of the story, because I think Arya has been trying to evolve and, get in a better place for the upcoming end of the story. And I don't know if introducing that here makes sense. I think that's an interesting plot element, but a little later on and with a different way that you could orchestrate that plot. Now, the next way would be, okay, maybe the Faceless Men forgive her for this, and they let it go, and they give her a really tough mission to see if she can prove herself worthy of staying in the Faceless Men. Now, this option would basically be, we're not going to kill you if you get through this mission, and we may allow you to leave. Something like that. So this mission, I've seen some speculation that it could be something with like the election of the Sea Lord, or just maybe something that's a really tough mission for Arya to complete, and Arya will complete this mission using either some trickery, or she'll just, again, with her survivability that we talk about with her character, she's able to get through it, and maybe she's released that way. Now, I personally don't like either of those options, because it doesn't really feel to me that her arc would be complete with the Faceless Men. So the third arc is the one I like the most. I've talked about it in the past a little bit with my Arya Winds of Winter predictions, but I like the scenario where the Faceless Men, again, they figure out what Arya did. They're not happy, and again, similar to the second option, but done on a grander scope. The Faceless Men realize that Arya is who she is, right? She's gonna go back to Westeros. She's gonna try at some point anyway. So they let her go back to Westeros and leave, but it is on a condition. If she goes, she is going to have to do a very difficult assassination for the Faceless Men, and then everything will be forgiven or whatnot. And she's not going to know who it is yet. She'll find out later. So maybe they'll inform her later on. They could inform her here as well. But personally, I think it makes more sense to give her this mission later on. So they allow her to go back to Westeros, given this condition. It makes sense from the Faceless Men point of view of, okay, if we're not going to kill her, let's use her to our own benefit. And then maybe we can kill her afterwards regardless. Or we can just, use this product that we've been building up to be a great assassin, instead of just killing her, letting her kind of get her way of going to Westeros, but then also having it benefit us, I think is a good, middle ground for both sides. So what is that going to entail? So I think Arya won't have to worry about this mission yet. I think it's going to be one of those things where it comes up towards the end of the book. It'll be like kind of Arya's final chapter type deal. But Arya, again, I'm not going to get too much into where I think her plot's going to go in Winds of Winter, outside of her leading Braavos and her Braavos-y plot. But I think the idea here is going to be, we've seen that the Faceless Men were very pivotal, probably, in the fall of Valyria, and a lot of the dragons and things like that. I'm going to use the quote right now just to show kind of what they were up to and kind of that backstory there. And then we'll kind of talk about it. And this is going to, I think, tie in really nicely to kind of how I think we could see the Faceless Men still being part of the endgame of the series.
All gods have their instruments, men and women who serve them and help to work their will on earth. The slaves were not crying out to 100 different gods, as it seemed, but to one god with 100 different faces. And he was that god's instrument. That very night he chose the most wretched of the slaves, the one who had prayed most earnestly for release, and freed him from his bondage. The first gift had been given. Arya drew back from him. He killed the slave? That did not sound right. He should have killed the masters. He would bring the gift to them as well, but that is a tale for another day, one best shared with no one.
So, like this quote talks about, we see a lot of the Faceless Men probably having a lot of ties to the downfall of Valyria. And I think I've done a video on that before, so if you wanted an in-depth of kind of what I think the role of the Faceless Men were. But for this video, they were just part of it, and I think they, again, killed the right people, and it led to Valyria falling. Now, for this video, what is the significance here? Again, we could tie back to their history that given who they might want to die and who they would give this mission to Arya, and who will be coming to Westeros or who would be in Westeros. So I think there's a couple options here that I really like. Now, the first option could be that they would want to kill Dany. Dany is this person that's Valyrian. She's bringing back the dragons. It would kind of be like the Valyria thing again. So I could see the Faceless Men wanting her gone. And I could see a lot of people trying to pay for Dany to die as well. She has made a lot of enemies. And that will really lead to an interesting point of the story where if you're Arya, you don't really want to kill Dany. And if Dany is someone that is helping against the war with the others and becomes someone that maybe Arya kind of respects or maybe even likes, or even Jon, let's say, you know, that George goes the show route and Jon and Dany start like having a thing, you come into a really weird situation. And again, that's even going to parallel even better when we look at where I think Arya's kind of plot is heading towards, where she's going to meet Lady Stoneheart. And I think it's going to be a real flip in her character where I think some of that thirst for revenge is going to be quenched, and she's going to kind of look at what her mother became, and she may revert from that a little bit. I think that's going to be interesting when you pile on that factor of it, and then also Dany, if she is the target of this attack, which I think is really likely. Now, another character we could see is I could also see, once again, the Faceless Men wanting to kill young Griff. Again, he would be a Targaryen, reinstating the Targaryen dynasty. The Faceless Men probably wouldn't be a big fan of that, so I could definitely see that being an option as well. I don't see that one as much because I think Dany and young Griff are more tied together in kind of his fate personally. A third option I could see Cersei being the target. Cersei is someone that has not been paying off her debts to the Iron Bank. The Iron Bank could easily pay the Faceless Men to then, bam, kill Cersei. That would make a lot of sense. It would tie in the plot really well because you would have Arya, who would actually agree to this. She would want to kill Cersei. So the Faceless Men could then play in again to, this is what Arya wants to do anyway. And it also really benefits them as well. So again, you could see that idea as well happen. To me, I don't mind that one. I like that one more than young Griff. Personally, it would be really interesting to see Arya's character where if she does have this big reversal where, you know, she isn't trying to viciously get revenge and murdering people because of what she sees with Stoneheart or her mother, that would be interesting because it would be going against exactly who Arya wanted to kill. And it's what she's being told to do by the Faceless Men, but because of kind of where her character has started to go, she isn't really that person anymore. That would be really interesting for the tying of the series. Any other characters I could think of? I can't really think of any. If you guys have any, if you guys thought that you agree with my ideas where Arya could be used kind of on a mission to maybe kill someone, and that would kind of fulfill her Faceless Men contract, let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any other ideas for where you think Arya is going to go with her Braavos plot and how that's going to be kind of finished, let me know down in the comments. And I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.